It's 10:03. It's a wonderful Friday. It's July 5 2024. Pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome back to our morning program here at The Agenda sa Club Filipino. I'm your host, Fred Bison. This program is brought to you by Everything for Good Consulting Services in cooperation with Impact Publishing. For today's show, we have a battery of seasoned experts experienced in their respective fields. Allow me to introduce them first. To my right, Professor Chester Cabalsa, President and founder of the International Development and Security Cooperation. Palakpat ng konti. To my left is Dr. John Ortiz Tiope, Deputy Secretary General, Partido Federal ng Pilipinas. Right? And to my far left, needs no introduction, kilala na natin siya, Calyodi de Guzman, Chairperson of the Buklod ng Manggagawa ng Pilipinas. Good morning, everyone. For today's program, we have a discussion, analysis, and critical debate about the political security situation in our country today. Of course, what we have in terms of the hotter topics ay yung pagbubuo ng alyansa. Typical in any election, we have seen in the Philippines, there is a series of alliances, coalition that we have seen in so many elections so far. And yung ating Partido Federal is closely doing the same thing, and perhaps sabi nga nung iba, nakuha na yata ang lahat. So, Dr. John, what do you say about this current development of your political party, sir?
So first of all, good morning to each and everyone, to our panel and to Attorney Mison. Now, let's start with the concept of the alliance. Start first on in terms of semantics or discussions pertaining to term. We need to understand what is an alliance, what is a coalition, and what is a merger. A merger is wherein two parties merge together and the one would be abolished for one purpose. A coalition is a temporary partnership among political parties for a certain period of time for a certain purpose, while an alliance is a voluntary partnership itself for a common cause. Now, with this, the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas engaged into alliance with the different parties for a long-term cause. And what is that long-term cause or vision? And that is the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas, which is the goal of the President, which is the Bagong Pilipinas. So first, we have an alliance with the Lakas CMD, then the NPC, then now the NUP. So most of these parties engaged to Partido Federal to support the cause of the President, which is the Bagong Pilipinas or a New Philippines, which is more of looking at economic and socio-political development.
Isingit ko lang, sir. Since you differentiated alliance, coalition, and merger, in terms of alliances, you explained that these are the parties that are already allied to your party. Are there any parties who have merged or coalesced? Ano ba yan? Allied with partido?
The first is the Lakas CMD of Speaker Romualdez.
Yun sa alliance. How about sa yung coalition and merger? Meron po ba din, sir? Wala pa.
But by this time, there's no mergers and coalition.
Okay, sorry.
But on our part, because we're looking at a long-term point, which this is not a partnership for convenience for 2025 only. This is a long-term arrangement. That's why they call ourselves the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas, which is, this is beyond the term of the President to look at what is a New Philippines.
So far, you have at least
three right now.
Three political.
The first is the Lakas CMD, the next is the Nationalist People's Coalition, and the recent last Saturday is the National Unity Party.
And question lang, Dr. Jana, what qualifies a political party to be allied with your Partido Federal?
First of all, they need to look, because we have different ideological visions. The NPC, the Lakas CMD, and the NUP. But we have a common goal. And what is that common goal? Which is they believe in the program of the President, which is the Bagong Pilipinas. So as long as they adhere with that, and they support the program of the President, and the President also, they are qualified to be in the alliance.
So aside from the three parties, meron po bang incoming political party that will be part of this alliance?
There are negotiations that are, they said, but we don't know yet. I would not disclose the party yet. But expect two more party to be allied with Partido Federal. Ng
Two
Pilipinas.
more. Okay.
Yeah.
Matanong ko na si Calyodi diretso. Kasama ka ba, Calyodi, dito sa two more? Yeah, it's okay.
Malamang hindi. Kasi magkaiba kami ng pananaw sa mga bagay. At ang nagsasama-sama ay dapat yung magkakapareho ng pananaw sa ekonomiya, sa politika, lahat. Kaya malamang hindi dahil nga salungat Salungat yung aming pananaw sa pananaw ng partidong nagsasama-sama, NUP, NPC, saka federal.
Pero sa basa mo, Calyodi, sa tingin mo ba this kind of alliance is something different from what we have seen in previous alliances?
Pare-pareho lang yan. Pare-pareho lang yan na para sa mga interest ng mga ng dynasty, ng mga political, ng mga elite, ng mga oligarch. Ganun din lang yan. At gagawa ng mga policy na naka-align sa neoliberal para sa mga malaking kapitalistang lokal at dayuhan at laban sa interes ng mga mamayan. Yan ang kasaysayan ng lahat ng partidong nagkuwalis sa nakaraang panahon. Kaya nga gusto namin baguhin ang sistema ng politika sa ating bansa dahil ang politika natin ay politika ng mga mayayaman, ng mga bilyonaryo, ng mga trapo at dynasty. At yun ang ayaw natin dahil walang pinatunayan sa kasaysayan. Ang mga ito, ng mga politikong ito, mga partidong ito, ilang beses lang pinagbigyan ng mamayan, walang nangyari kundi ibaon tayo sa utang, sa kahirapan, at pagkakahati-hati ng ating mga mamayan. Kaya, tansya ko, same. Nagpalit lang ng muka. Magpapalit lang ng muka sa Malacanang.
Maybe let me ask Dr. Chester here, no? Given your experience in all of these things, do you think or do you agree with Calyodi na this particular alliance ng Partido Federal will be the same as the other alliances before?
Well, let's put it into context. In some ways, of course, nandun yung natin, no, haka-haka natin that it's always been the power of the elites. But nonetheless, of course, we have to understand also yung there are changing expectations from these leaders, especially that, of course, no, iba ngayon yung kahit na mga elites yan or hindi non-elites yung ilalagay natin, iba yung mga pagsubok na harapin nila. Like say for example, the case of the Philippines as an upper middle income economy. So paano mo ngayon iangat ang ekonomiya ng Pilipinas kung hindi malinaw yung mga struktura at mga polisiya na ipaparating mo sa mga tao? Another would be our issue in the West Philippine Sea. May mga organizations, institutions tayo, no? I mean, UP, you have UP academics as these are the academic elites. You have the military graduates ng mga PMA as the military elites. No, iba yung training nila. But yung response nila sa mga tao, dapat alam nila yung struktura ng politika, ekonomiya natin. So you see the changes there, no?
So Dr. Chester, do you agree na this will just be a same kind of alliance as we have seen in the past?
I hope ang aking dito, there will be same structure, but I hope the electorate, tayo mga boboto, sana maging mas matalino tayo because of course no the requirement there for us to become at least no an upper middle income economy or yung developed economy man lang is to have a wide middle class, no, yung a pool of middle class thinking and yung i-elect mong mga pinuno talaga namang qualified, no? Kasi ngayon talaga kung titingnan natin yung mga whether nga yung mga political structures natin may mga alliance, coalition, merger, kung yung mga qualifications pa rin nila hindi pa rin tumutugma, kawawa naman din tayo, no? Yung mga kabataan natin, nag-aaral ng mabuti yan hanggang makarating nila yung kolehiyo, master's, PhD nila, tapos naging doktor, abogado sila. Tapos yung mga kandidato natin, hindi naman na nila nararating yung mga minimum requirement for a leader of the country. So yun yung nagiging problema natin doon.
I suppose, Dr. Jan, you will disagree that the Partido Federal will just be same. In the words of Calyodi. What makes it different?
I understand, Calyodi, for that. Not known to all, the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas is a party of the masses. Because during the time of the Duterte administration, the Partido Federal was founded in 2018 through the hope that we could realize federalism so that all of the basic services would be given to the regional government in the states. Now, most of the members and the founders of the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas came from the grassroots. Even at the present, most of our members are from the grassroots. Kaya kapag titignan niyo yung aming mga roster from the National Executive Council, bihira ang mga politiko. Karamihan mga leader sa barangay, leader sa bawat syudad at munisipyo. So doon sa paghahangad na makita ang pagbabago ng Partido Federal is that we're explaining to the countrysides ano essential, and we're not looking at just waking up initially for a federal government. We're looking at an evolving federalism, which is, it is very hard to realize it instantly na nakikita. So, I understand yung concept ni Calyodi. So, the alliance itself has a vision of changing the concept of politics, which is more opinion politics. But the problem right now, as mentioned by professors, that it is the electorate that builds the foundation of this politics. Umaga, nandito na yung mga alternatibo. Kaya ka na tumatakbo sila Calyodi noong 2022. May mga alternatibong kandidato na nakikita. Bakit hindi binoboto ng mamamayan? Siguro it's about time to look at on the people kung ano yung konsepto ng tamang pagboto, kung ano yung tamang pangangailangan. Ang problem is that people are exposed to the traditional politics, and this is what Partido Federal is trying to look at, which is we need to change politics. We need to change the system. Kumbaga, baka bagong politika ang aming tinutugunan sa Partido Federal ng Pilipinas. Ano ba yung makabagong politika? Politikang may tiwala, integridad, politika para sa mamamayan, politikang may yabong, politikang may unlad, politikang may prinsipyo, politikang objektibo, at politikang garantisado. Sa madaling salita po, spell niyo yun, timpuyog. Ano ba yung timpuyog? That is an Ilocano term for unity. We need to unite. If people would not unite on a certain cause, alam mo, ambition ni Calyodi, ambition nating lahat dito, hindi natin mararating yan eh. Because we're always divided. So people are given the alternatives in politics. It's up to us to look at, to make a best choice. But we are choosing the wrong ones minsan eh. And that is the problem. We create our own system. We create our own problem in this country.
Dr. Jan, matanong ko lang, part of your political reforms or agenda in the Partido Federal is to promote a two-party system? Is that part of that political maturity that you want?
No, it's not. It's not our point, because we still believe in the market of ideas and ideology, because there's no such monopoly of ideology. So the point there is that let the people choose who they like to vote, because to delimit the political system into a two-party is thus delimiting the choice of the people on what ideology they like to adhere. Yeah.
Some sectors say that we all want to be united as a country. And given what's happening now in the West Philippine Sea, do you think this will somehow help the country in being united, sir?
No. In the context of the West Philippine Sea, I think it is now an eye-opener for the Filipinos to enlighten the nationalism of the Filipino right now. Because saan ba tayo ngayon? Ito yung tension, ito yung pangyayari. But on the issue of the West Philippine Sea, we're so much alarmed about the invasion and so like this. And sometimes you need to be critical on this concept of what the West Philippine Sea issue is. On our part, on the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, we believe that the principle of solving the West Philippine Sea is to constant diplomacy. And instead, we need to state always a diplomatic protest whenever China is doing bullying. You know, in a constant diplomacy and a constant protest, there might be an evolving policy based on those stand that we would have. Protesta lang tayo ng protesta, sabihin natin ng sabihin. And at the end, there might be a common goal, a win-win situation that might evolve for us.
Dr. Chester, taking politics aside, do you think the country is doing enough when it comes to, as Dr. Jan said, continued diplomatic protest for every act of bullying in the West Philippine Sea?
I think we have done a lot of things already, no? Diversification in terms of our security policy. We have released the National Security Policy last year. I think after the SONA, we will release the National Security Strategy. I think that is the operationalization of the NSP. Secondly, we have now a wider diplomatic network. Imagine niyo nung Balikatan exercises, 14 countries observed us. That never happened in the 39th iteration of the Balikatan exercises. Plus 4 countries would want to forge defense agreements with us. Ibig sabihin, naniniwala sila sa paninindigan ng Pilipinas. No? Imagine, aside from the US, you have now Australia, Japan, and France that wanted also the same visiting forces agreement with us. No? I think next week lalabas na yung reciprocal access agreement with Japan. And that is very important because this is an alternative for us in case there might be some troublesome in the relations between the US, no, because they have a chain of command also, chain of command also by November. There we'll never know what happens in their election. But nonetheless, ang gusto natin puntuhin dito, meron ka ring military modernization na nangyari, medyo improving naman yung economy. These are some of the factors where we see that the policy direction of the government is geared towards that.
So even, let's say, there are continued water cannons, dangerous maneuvers, the presence of a big ship, naputulan na yung isang Philippine Navy personnel natin. Tama lang ba, Dr. Chester, na we just keep on filing diplomatic protest?
The march of the diplomatic protest is a natural action of a sovereign state. No? Kapag mayroong ganyan talagang nagdi-diplomatic protest ka. But I think more importantly is how you also appraise your security policy right now, because we see fear from China and from the Philippines vis-a-vis its allies, no, nag-uusap ngayon si China and the Philippines, no, because of the BCM right now. Pero nonetheless, umiikot pa rin yung monster ship ni China doon sa West Philippine Sea natin. That means that they still distrust the Philippines because of our alliance with the US, no. Okay. But I think more than this is yung question of the gray zone tactics na ginagawa ni China. What's next for the Philippines? I think the gray area here lies with the Mutual Defense Treaty. Kasi sinasabi nila, 1951 pa yan hindi naman na-invoke. No, I think yung gray area doon sa Article 3 of the MDT is that the foreign ministers of the US and the Philippines should have consultation. Ang sinasabi ko naman dito, ano yung co-consult nila kung hindi naman sila nag-agree doon sa gray zone tactics? Kasi 1951, yung armed attack na classification yan is a land base. Ang nangyayari ngayon na maritime, no, naval ngayon, no, hindi yun nakasulat dun sa 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. So unless the US is serious about it and would elevate that gray zone attack to an armed attack, doon natin makikita yung sincerity of the US that they really wanted to help us. Because as of now, a case in point is the 2012 Scarborough Shoal. They were the one who intervened and told us na, okay, kaming magiging third party so that China and the Philippines will leave the shoal. Pero nag-deception strategy si China, hindi siya umalis. That's why for 8 years nandun pa rin sila. Another one gray area is the Ayungin Shoal kasi nandun yung BRP Sierra Madre natin, no? At mukhang binabakuran din nila yung Escoda Shoal na namalapit sa Palawan, mainland Palawan, dahil yun yung access nila for resupply, no? So meaning to say yung armed attack na yan, it has to be redefined also. Same as true with the definition that Dr. kanina na sinabi yung alliance, coalition, and merger, dapat well-defined siya kung ano talaga yung what is gray zone and armed attack. Parang ganun, no?
Okay. Magandang definition ata ang kailangan natin makuha from our academic experts. being a professor in the Public Safety College and so many other academies here, Dr. Jan, what do you think? What does it take really to have that armed attack trigger the application of that mutual defense treaty, sir?
Let's look at that in a way that people could understand. Will China invade us? The question would be no. Yeah. Mao Zedong says that in his red book, I would rather be invaded by my enemies rather than I to invade them. That is a Mao principle. So in the Chinese principle is that let their enemies invade them, then they would what? Retaliate. If we would be the one to start firing, that would be another issue. And that is one thing that we need to prevent for our military to start and ignite. Because who would be the beneficiary? There would be a third-party beneficiary for this war. So the idea right now is that in terms of looking at the West Philippine Sea, we're just being crazy about that. China would invade us. China would go here in January. You know, if China would invade us, let us learn from the Russia-Ukraine situation. Look at what happened to Russia. They suffer so many economic sanctions. And China is the one supplying Russia right now.
I think, Dr. Jan, it goes without saying that China will not invade us.
Yeah.
No, in using that technical and legal term of invasion. Pero the fact remains, Dr. Jan, di ba, since we already assert territorial sovereignty or at least territorial rights in certain areas of the West Philippine Sea, hindi po ba na parang short of invasion but provoking us to retaliate ang ginagawa
the
nila?
problem is this the ruling of the UNCLOS is that they only give us the ruling on the exclusive economic zone. It doesn't define the territorial rights. It is more of an international water wherein we could practice our exclusive economic zone. What China is invoking is that we have the historical claim. Amin yan eh. Yun you know, that's why there should be an international ruling on this so that there would be an end to this.
And you think, Dr. Jan, that UN arbitral ruling is not sufficient to address that because there was a...
Not sufficient. Because sa sinasabi ng China, amin yan eh. So we have the right to go there historically. Pero sinabi ng UNCLOS is that you have the exclusive economic zone. So we cannot reconcile these two aspects on that point. So there are problems pertaining to the ruling, and on my part, on our country, we need to since it is our exclusive economic zone, what we're doing is that we're imposing our maritime laws because that is our exclusive economic zone. But what China is doing is that again, amin din yan eh, dun sa sitwasyon na yon. So there is now a need for an arbiter for this so that we could have a reconciliation, and that is what you call the concept of international diplomacy. From those of the process, we might evolve to something eh.
So say, Dr. Jan, that 2016 arbitral award is not enough for us to really settle the dispute. Kasi you're saying that you want an arbiter again. Sasabihin ng iba, na-settle na yan noong 2016
Kasi ang sinasabi, ang pagkakaalam ng mga Pilipino, atin yung West Philippine Sea. We only want the rights as an exclusive economic zone. Territorially, that is the issue. So, territorial claim and the exclusive economic zone is different.
So, having said that, Dr. Jan, how do you see this thing pan out? Especially we have the incoming midterm elections. How do you see this issue be managed or resolved by the administration or in the eyes of the Partido Federal?
So, as I mentioned, we need to go back to the table and negotiate. Because regardless, there would be what you call this, this issue would still continue because the bullying would still remain as it goes, as long as we need to go back again. And right now, there's now the talk on the table. We really are, where could we win on a commonality here so that on their part, they would benefit from it, and our part would benefit from them. So the problem is this. Let's look at what happened in Ukraine and Russia. when NATO, Ukraine joined NATO, it becomes a threat to Russia. Because as if sabi ng Russia, pinalilibutan na kami unti-unti na. And the presence of the EDCA is one factor to this. So I think that is one thing that China would be looking at in terms of the negotiating table.
So sa'yo, Dr. Jan, the way you see this, we need to constantly communicate. Kahit wala na tayong tiwala dun sa liderato ng China, communicate pa rin tayo.
Even in China, they have problems. Even Xi Jinping has problems in China. If they would invade the Philippines, maraming incheck din na magagalit sa kanya. So it is more of still, alam ba, ang konsepto dito is that ginugulo na tayo. Anong gustuhin natin? Gigirahin natin sila? We're not yet ready to do that. What we could only do is that let us still go to the negotiating table and talk. And we could come up. Pag palaging pinag-uusapan naman yan, may mga mangyayari dyan . And the problem right now is that nung mga previous administration, I see the Solicitor General when it comes to this issue, may mga pronouncement. Ngayon parang may kulang tayo dito sa nangyayari.
Calyodi, your thoughts? Kasi according to Dr. Jan, marami na nangyayari sa West Philippine Sea. For him, I think the proper resolution is to keep on engaging China. Usap-usap dapat. Ano sa pananaw ng
Mukhang dito kami magkakasundo ni Dr. Jan. Saan ba yun? Mukhang dito kami magkakasundo ni Dr. Jan. Doon sa dapat ay huwag tayong mag-engage o matulak sa gera. Wala tayong kapanapanalo sa gera. Walang nananalo sa gera. Nananalo lang sa gera ay yung mga kumpanya ng mga armas at saka yung mga malalaking construction firm. Sila ang pumapalakpak kapag nagkakaroon ng gera para sa reconstruction. Pero yung mga tao, lahat ay talo dyan, talo. Doon sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea, dapat magkaroon ng context ang mga tao . Historically, walang ganyang away ang Pilipinas at saka China before na ganyang katindi. Nagsimula lang ang ganyang away nung ang US ay mag-pivot to Asia. Yung lumipat siya mula Middle East, ay lumipat na siya papuntang Asia. Pivot to Asia ang tawag nila. Na-notice nila yan, ginawa nila yan dahil na-notice nila noong 2006, grabe ang pag-unlad ng China. At dahil sa grabing pag-unlad ng China, nangangamba ang US na mapag-iwanan siya. Kaya ang ginawa niya, nagpaibot ng Asia to contain China. At ang China, kung ganito kalapad ng China, ang China nandito lang yung development niya . 90% ng kanyang area ay walang development. Dito lang ang development niya sa South China Sea. Kaya obligado siyang protektahan niya. Kaya yun ang nangyayari. At itong gerang ito ay itong gulong ito ay hindi sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at ng China, kundi ng US at saka ng China. Gagamitin ng Pilipinas bilang pawn ng US tulad ng nangyari sa Ukraine. Ganun ang mangyayari. Panghuli. Magpapakamatay ang maraming Pilipino para maggera at nagtutulak ang maraming mamaya na maggera para daw protektahan at matiyak yung West Philippine Sea. Pero mga kasama, hanggat elite, hanggat dynasty ang ating gobyerno, kahit maging atin ang West Philippine Sea, lumayas ang China, matakot sa US, lumalis yan, hindi tayo makikinabang. Hindi tayo makikinabang. Ang Luzon atin, ang Bisaya atin, ang Mindanao atin, walang umaagaw. Nakikinabang ba ang mga mamayang Pilipino? Lumalayas nga ang maraming Pilipino dahil sa kawalan ng pag-asa sa Pilipinas. Bakit? Kasi nakaupo, dynasty, elite. At ang mga elite at dynasty, ang pinaglilingkuran ay hindi ang masang Pilipino, hindi ang bansang Pilipinas, kundi ang mga dayuhang negosyante at mga lokal na negosyante. Kaya ang mga lokal na negosyante natin ngayon, yaman ang yaman, at ang mga mamayang Pilipino, hirap ng hirap. Ang problema natin, yung elite rule, yung dynasty rule sa ating bansa.
I-paraphrase ko lang, Calyodi. In other words, the solution in West Philippine Sea is to end political dynasty?
Isa.
Isa.
Isa yan na dapat
Pero
ay
medyo
ma-end ang political dynasty at nang sa ganon, pag naging atin ang Pilipinas, ang West Philippine Sea, tayo ang makikinabang. Dahil pag hindi at political dynasty pa rin ang pupwesto, ang makikinabang dyan ay mga oil companies. Mga oil companies at ang mga manggagawa, gagawin lang manggagawa bilang mga kontraktual, mababa ang sahod. Pero ang makikinabang dyan, kung meron mang oil dyan, mga oil companies, mga commercial fishing vessel, yun ang makikinabang dyan. Hindi ang mga mamayang Pilipino.
Okay. Thank you, Calyodi. I think you gave a long-term solution given that medyo mahaba ang proseso to end any political dynasty in this country.
Ako ni Doctor sa negotiation. Kaisa ako doon.
Okay. But, okay. Go ahead, Dr. Jan.
Sige, nakikita ko yung pinaghuhugutan ni Calyodi sa political dynasty. On our part, ang dynastiya sa ating bayan ay mahirap i-prevent as long as ito'y tinatangkilik ng mamamayan. At mahirap din namang ipagbawal ang dynastiya kasi ito'y karapatan ng isang anak o isang miyembro ng pamilya na tumakbo. Halimbawa, kung ako ay isang abogado, ako isang pulis, alangan pagbawalan mo yung anak ko maging pulis din, magiging dynastiya. So the problem right now is the masses. Tawag dito, on how they prepare the votes. Alam niyo po, madalas ko itong nasasabi, sa mga political dynasty sa probinsya, ang lumili ka ng dynastiya ay ang mamamayan. At ang nangyayari pa sa mga probinsya is that yung mga gobernador, mayor, ay sinasadyang maghirap ang kanilang mga lugar para magkaroon sila ng voting clout. Di ba? Para mabili yung boto. Ang dynastiya ay likha ng mamamayang Pilipino na nakikita. So, I agree. The political dynasty is a cause of the problem. But as long as there is no political will, because there are also good dynasties as they said. Pero ang problema dyan is that as long as walang prinsipyo ang namumuno, walang prinsipyong makapilipino at makamasa at makabayan na sinasabi natin, tawag dito, walang mangyayari sa ating bayan. Kumbaga, ang tingnan natin ngayon on this principle is that we should choose leaders na talagang nagmamahal sa bayan. Hindi yung doon pa lang naman sa election makikita na natin kung sino yung kung sino talaga yung pinapatakbo ng mga oligarko, negosyante at mga monopolya.
So in other words, Dr. Jan, it actually you're saying that according to Calyodi, it's the problem of the elite. According to it's a problem of the masses. So how would you address the problem of the masses? Kailangan ba ng increased voter education? Or what are the para bang recommended solutions from your end?
The problem right now, even insurgency, these are caused by social injustice and economic problems. There are insurgents because they suffer social injustices. Kaya nga, yung mabanggitin ko kanina is NTF, ALCAC. Tawag dito. Ako, on my part, the killing the rebels would not solve the problem, the insurgents. It is more of ideological in nature. It's a battle of ideology. The one in the other side have presented their ideology, present a better ideology for them to look at. So, at this point is that killing is not a solution. It is more of a unity. And it's more of reconciliation. We need to look at the commonality for unification. And what is that commonality for us to look at? And that is national sustainable development. As long as people would not look at development in this country, there are social injustices. If there are social injustices, there is corruption. And when there is corruption, there are victims of social injustices. There is no development. And that is what Partido Federal would like to look at. There should be equality. And also all the services should be given down to the regional level, down to the countryside, so that there would be no Imperial Manila.
I think everyone in this table are in agreement that we all want unity towards progress for the Filipino people, for our country. Matanong si Dr. Chester, if you had the ear of the President today, anong masasabi mo, ano yung masasuggest mo in terms of a national defense, security policy para nang sa ganon, we can achieve that unity?
Dapat inclusive, no? Everyone should understand it. Because when we talk about national defense or security, mahirap siyang intindihin para sa pangkaraniwang mga mamamayan. And I think this is something that we have to cascade even to politicians. Minsan nga nakita natin, 'di ba, sa mga local leaders natin in many towns and cities and provinces, sila pa mismo yung medyo tumatangkilik doon sa suporta ng China. At nakita natin na may mga gray zone dito na nangyayari. But what we're trying to drive at, if the President listens to us, of course, no, maganda na yung national security policy natin at saka yung national security strategy natin ipamulat sa mga mamamayan. No? Dapat may translation ito sa iba-ibang wika para lalo nilang maintindihan. And when we craft such policies, dapat kasama rin lahat, no? From grassroots to officials, and of course, they should be consulted. Kasi ang nangyayari dito, kapag hindi mo sila konsulta, sila yung medyo nagrereklamo. And of course, no, this is part of the democratization process. That since inclusive lahat, then everyone should be part of it. Because the story of the national security policy is our narrative. It's our aspiration. Kaya nga humuhugot dyan yung mga military natin ng kanilang strategiya dahil yun yung gusto ng mga tao, ng mamamayan. And say for example, in case of the West Philippine Sea or insurgency issue, it should be bottom up, no? Hindi yung mahirap kasi kung top down lagi, no, dahil hindi naman nakikita ng mga namumuno natin kung ano yung totoong sitwasyon na nangyayari. I agree with the social injustices, historical injustices na nangyayari, because hindi nila napapakinggan kung ano yung sinasabi ng mga mamamayan. And secondly, yes, I agree with the diplomacy, no, kinakailangan pakinggan kasi yung consultation, negotiation, these are diplomatic skills. No, kinakailangan magaling kang makipagdiplomasya para makuha mo kung ano yung gusto ng mamamayan para yun yung i-implement ng ating gobyerno. Dahil kung ang gobyerno lang ang mag-iisip at yun yung i-implement nila, sila lang yung makikinabang doon, no? That's how I see it.
Okay. Just like also to add that national security is not just defense security. National security pertains to so many aspects: health security, food security, literacy security, and also the economic security. Ang problema kasi, when we look at national security, palaging tinitignan yung pagbili ng barel, pagdepensa sa external. So dapat tugunan din ng national security sector natin ang konsepto ng food security. Maganda nga ang ating depensa sa labas, nagugutom naman ang ating mamamayan. Di ba? At pagdating sa literasiya ay mahina din. So we need to look at a general perspective, a macro perspective of what national security is. So the government should not just focus on in terms of national security pertaining to the defense aspects. It is so general kasi ang tao titingnan nila sa mamamayan, ano pakialam namin dun sa mga armamento nandyan? Kami nagugutom dito. Pag-uusapan natin ang literacy ungkol sa mga usaping pangpolitika, gutom ang tao. Kaya nga pagdating ng election, kung sino nagbibigay ng pera, binoboto nila. Kasi yun, pwede nila pambili ng pagkain. So dapat, it is more of educating the people.
Alam naman natin ang estratehiya na ngayon is whole of society. Kaya nga yung security natin, lahat tayo. Hindi lang po tama yung defense, military, hindi po. Isa lang siya. Kaya nga tuturo ako sa national defense. At tinuturo namin doon yung political, economic, socio-cultural, techno-scientific, environmental, military. Isa lang yung dimension ng military doon, no? Hindi natin sinasabi na kapag yung security, because that's very broad. No? At the end of the day, it's the revolution of the stomach. Yung siyempre ang tao, kaya yung nagagalit sa ating gobyerno kasi nagugutom sila, may mga social needs sila na dapat matugunan. At yun dapat po yung dapat binibigay natin sa kanila na serbisyo.
Nice. Thank you for your insights, doctors and Calyodi. I think we are open for questions from media. Same thing, introduce yourself, the outfit that you represent, and to whom you want the question to be addressed to.
All right. Happy morning. I'm Miss Horizon Chaser at ito po yung questions sa ayon lamang po sa mga nabanggit ninyo. Yung unite, pagbabago, elite, dynasty, government. Ask ko lang po, meron po ba kayong specific na suggestion para dito sa mga issue na ibinigay niyo po? halimbawa, gusto niyo yung magiging unite, di ba po, yung mga Pilipino, para magkaisa nga sila sa kanilang sino yung gusto nilang ay iboto or anong pagbabago. Mayroon po ba kayong specific doon na isuggest ninyo? Kasi baka nga hindi nila alam paano. So hindi pwedeng salita lang ng salita tayo, pero question sa kanila yon. So yun po ang gusto kong malaman. And yung pagbabago din, anong klaseng pagbabago? Dahil ngayon po, ano na tayo, AI, nasa social media, iba na po ngayon eh. So may specific din po ba kayo doon na suggestion para doon sa ating mga research and development para sa pagbabago? Kasi meron naman po silang pagbabagong ginagawa. Problem, walang pondo minsan, di ba po? And yung mga elite natin, bakit galit tayo sa elite? Kung tutuusin, sandali lang po, tapusin ko lang po, attorney. Kasi kung tutuusin, inisa ko na, bahala na po kayo. Yung elite po natin, di ba lahat tayo gusto nating umunlad, di ba po? So, mga mahihirap, umaasenso, nagiging elite, nagiging elitista. So, bakit medyo hindi tayo ayon doon sa mga pananaw nila? And ano yung suggestion naman ninyo doon sa mga elitista na yon na maintindihan din po nila kung ano yung dapat nilang gawin? Dahil magaganda naman po ang inyong mga opinion. And yung sa government, so tanong ko, malinaw po ba na wala tayong tiwala sa government natin ngayon? And ano po yung opinion niyo rin po or meron po kayong ipapalit doon na ibigay sa ating government or sa mga nag-research and development? Kasi ang dami naman natin mga researchers, kumpleto po sila sa mga detalye, pinagpupunduhan din po yun, pinagsusunugan ng kilay, pero sila rin naman po namomroblema kasi kami po nakasaksi bilang media, nakikita po namin yung pagpapagal nila. Ang problem nga din po, hindi din po yun na-implement. So anong tulong? Anong gagawin nyo? Ang mga detalye na dapat yung gawin po. Thank you po.
Alam nyo, ma'am, yung aking katabi, mga professors to eh. Sila usually nagtatanong. Pero ang ganda ng tanong mo, napakarami. At sigurado ko mahihirapan sila. But go ahead, Dr. John. It's a complex and series of questions. Feel free to respond to any of those questions. Sir.
Okay. In general, we in the Partido Federal na Pilipinas have a framework pertaining to change, pertaining to development. We call that in a framework, in a circle, which is, the acronym, matatawa kayo, sinasabi mo, elite. What is elite? We look at the perspective of the variable of economy, legislation, information, and technology. Number one is that for us to develop, we need to look at the economy. What are the needs of the economy? What are the aspects that we need to change within the economy? That's why, in terms of this, we need to look at consultations on the countryside. Nandiyan na yung problema sa ekonomiya, sa sweldo, sa ito. Pero, yun lamang perspektibo. Remember, every problem that is happening right now, even political, are caused by economics. Pag ang tao gutom, ano nangyayari? Maraming ginagawa. Di ba? Maraming magrevolusyon, maraming mag-aklas. So, economically, we need to lay down what are the economic reforms that we need to look at. Next is the legal, which is the legislation. So we need to pass on this to realize all the aspects for us to look at the economic reforms towards sustainable development. Specifically, we look at the idea of Agenda 21, which is more of looking at the general sustainable development, the green economy. And next is that there's elite tayo, di ba? I. What is I? I is information, communication, and education. Regardless what reforms we do, what ideas we'd like to implement in the society, if people would not be educated and informed. Remember, sabi nga ni Calyodi kanina, nandiyan na yung bakit binoboto yung mga mayayaman? Hindi tayo galit sa mayaman kasi lahat tayo gusto yumaman eh. Dito. That's part of ng isang Pilipino. Pero bakit ang binoboto kung sino pa yung magnanakaw, kung sino yung corrupt, kung sino yung mapang-api sa lipunan, yan ang nanalo. Because maybe we lack education or consciousness itself dito. So communication and education. And last is the technology, the TE. TE. The last, economy, legal, information, communication, education is the I, and the last is technology. We need to improve our technology. So, technology is the key to national development. Regardless of, sabi mo, AI. How come we have so many Filipinos are good in information technology? We have so many engineers, we have so many inventors. But what happens that the economy and the government is not giving them opportunity to excel here. Kaya ano nangyayari abroad? Kaya nga ito nga, nung ako yung tinatanong, this is my personal opinion, this is not the personal opinion of the party. Nung tinatanong ako nun, tawag dito, anong stand mo, Doc, sa DMW? Ako ayoko ng DMW eh. Kasi what we need is that Filipinos to work in our country. Tawag dito, wag nating ipagmalaki na meron tayong migrant workers. A booming economy wherein people would be employed in their own country is better. That's the idea. So, if we would build up the economy and opportunities would be given to all the regions and the countrysides, that is why the principle of Partido Federal of Philippines, we're looking at evolving federalism. And a part of that principle is that it's already been taken. Ito na yung BARM as an instant isang autonomous region that could evolve to a state. So, dahan-dahan yan, hindi pwedeng paggising natin sa isang araw, uy, Kalyodi, 18 na estado natin. Magkakagulo-gulo tayo. Hindi pwedeng gano'n, ha? Ang kanya dahan-dahan para kakayanin. Hindi pa pwede yung kanilang plataforma, yung principle na paggising mo, lahat tayo federal na. Pagtatawid ako ng Pampanga, iba na yung estado o Bulacan. Hindi ganun po yan.
Dr. Chester, please.
Complicated yung questions, which is very good, no, but 3 points lang yung about the change, no, unity. Lahat naman ng gobyerno gusto na united ng Pilipino, but of course, no, during campaign seasons, talagang dahil demokrasya yung ating bansa, nangyayari talaga yun, no. May iba-ibang mga opinion, may iba-ibang mga paniniwala at prinsipyo, pero sana kung sino yung mauupo, bibigyan natin ng tsansa na gawin yung trabaho na ma-unify yung bansa natin. But of course, no, ang polisiya kasi sa Pilipinas, 6 years yan, no? And in between, meron ka pang midterm. Kaya minsan, napuputol siya. Depende kung paano lalaruin ng mga politiko natin yun, no? But secondly, about the technology, no? Tama po kayo, no? Nagbabago ang teknolohiya natin. Ganon din yung polisiya dapat natin, mag-adapt dapat doon, no? Kaya nga ang unang tinatanong sa presidente natin kapag pangulo natin kapag nananalo sila, ano ang foreign policy mo? Kasi yung foreign policy, yun yung overarching mo, no? Kasi hindi ka lang representante ng mga Pilipino, kundi representante ka sa international community ng mga iba't ibang bansa. So alam dapat nila kung ano yung gusto mo para makatulong sa pag-unlad din ng mundo. Doon sa foreign policy na yon, bababa doon sa economic policy mo at saka doon sa security policy mo. Kaya dapat nagtutugma yung economic at saka security policy mo doon sa gusto mo sa foreign policy. Ngayon, hindi lang panay polisiya, dapat i-enforce mo rin. Kasi yun ang problema natin sa ating kultura. Marami tayong naiisip ng magagandang mga ideya, pero pag nag-enforce na tayo, hirap na tayo. Tapos hindi pa bumababa, no? So dapat doon tayo nagkakaintindihan. Lastly, ang gusto natin is yung ekonomiya. Lahat tayo nangangarap na gusto nating umunlad ang ating bansa dahil napag-iiwanan na rin tayo, no? Yung Vietnam, dati nalalait sila sa Timog Silangang Asya, pero bakit mas malaki pa yung sweldo nila ngayon kaysa sa atin, no? Sandali lang silang trumabaho, no? Pero nakita ninyo yung kapag nagtutulungan, may unity ang mga tao, sumusuporta sila sa gobyerno nila, kaya naman pala nila, no? Nataasan na nga nila tayo sa GDP at saka sa mga pasahod sa gobyerno, no? I hope that one day we should also do the same thing, no? At importante, kaya nilang i-secure yung teritoryo nila at may pagkain sila. Napakamura po ng pagkain doon. So ganun din dapat sa atin, no? Yung mga gulay at bigas sa atin napakamahal. Sana dumating yung panahon na yung mga basic services, yung food security natin, ma-secure natin. Okay, thank you.
Kalyo, you want to add? Yung specific recommendations na gusto mong gawin na
sa pagbabago, magkakasundo tayo dyan, pero 3 area sa kabuhayan, dapat huwag na magutom yung mga tao. Kasi mula noon hanggang sa ngayon, yan ang problema. Nagpalit-palit ang mga gobyerno, pero yung presyo ng bigas hanggang sa ngayon hindi ma-resolve, hindi mapababa. Pangalawa, politika. Hanggat elite, hanggat dynasty ang nakapwesto sa gobyerno, na sinimulan pa yan kahit sa panahon nila Aguinaldo hanggang ngayon, puro sila nakapwesto, wala na bago. Kasi ang ginagawa nila na programa, patakaran, batas, pabor sa mga mayayaman, hindi sa mahirap. Kasi mayayaman din sila eh. Tapos, sa kalikasan. Dapat protektahan natin ang ating kalikasan. Iisa ang ating mundo at winawasak pa ng mga policy ng gobyerno na tinutulak ay fossil fuel pa rin. Bagamat mayroon ng batas na ginawa noong 2008 na renewable, hindi nila ginagawa yon, fossil fuel pa rin. Kahit alam nila na malaking contribution ito para sa pag-init ng mundo at pagkakaroon ng climate change. Yan. Yung tatlong area yan ang dapat magkaroon ng pagbabago. At magagawa yan kung magkakaroon ng pagkakaisa. Para diyan. Para diyan. Alisin yung political dynasty, alisin yung mga policy na nagpapahirap sa mga mamayan, mag-focus sa agriculture, mag-focus sa industriya natin, at hindi yung lahat ng bagay na ating kailangan na yaring produkto ini-import natin na napakamahal, ay talagang magkakaroon tayo ng deficit sa budget, sa trade. Yung political dynasty, wakasan yan dahil wala talaga mangyayari. Tapos, nung binabanggit mong elite, hindi ako galit sa elite. Hindi ako galit sa elite. Ako'y galit sa elite rule. Galit lang ako doon sa elite rule, doon sa mga mayayaman na gustong maging leader ng bansa. Kasi napatunayan na. Napatunayan na natin. Hindi lang isa, hindi lang once, twice, thrice, at hindi lang thrice na pagbigyan na natin sila. Pero wala silang ginawa kundi gumawa ng batas at patakaran, programa para sa pagyaman ng mga dayuhang kapitalista, lokal na negosyante. Yun ang kailang ginagawa. Kaya si Villar ngayon, kahit mabuhay ng 900 years, hindi mauubos ang kanyang pera, kahit gumastos siya ng 1 milyon araw-araw. Yan ang nangyari. Kaya yun ang pagbabago na gusto ko.
Pwede pong follow-up questions?
Ma'am, ako lang sandali. Kasi, Calyodi, parang 14 na beses mo na binanggit yung political dynasty. Ano ba talagang solusyon mo? Kasi yung kay Dr. John, it's really a problem of the masses. Greater education, awareness. Pero yung kay Calyodi, ano ba talaga? Anong solusyon?
Doon kay Doc John, napansin ko, marami kaming mapagkakasunduan pala. Yung kanyang partido, okay yun. Kaya lang hindi kami nagkakasundo yata dahil kinuha niya ang makapangyarihang dynasty sa Pilipinas, yung si Marcos. Pero ang dami namin na pagkakasunduan na pananaw sa maraming bagay. Ngayon sa dynasty, may batas na. Nagkasundo na ang buong mamayan na masama ang political dynasty. Kaya lang, ang problema, yung si Cory, nilagyan as may be defined by law. Kaya siguro yung angka ni Cory na mga elite din, huwag mong todohan yan. Kaya nilagyan ng ganon. Kaya define na yan, nireject na yan ang buong mamayan, nasa konstitusyon yan. Kaya lang, yun nga, nilagyan ng ganong kulitilya sa dulo.
Okay. I think Doc John wants to follow up on the issue of the political dynasty.
Kasi yung konsepto ng dynastiya ay likha ng mga tao at mamamayan. So, one of our reforms in the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas that we'd like to look at is the political reforms. Alam niyo, ang political, there's no such thing as a political reform act eh. Sa Amerika, ang mga partido at sa ibang bansa ay binibigyan ng subsidiya ng pamahalaan para may equal na oportunidad paglaban sa political arena. Ngayon sa ating aspeto, kung sino yung mga partido na kung saan mayayaman, sila yung nananalo. Kaya nga kami sinuwerte sa Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, nagkaroon kami ng presidente pero wala kaming senador. Nung nanalo nung 2022, 2 congressman lang ang nanalo. Pero ngayon marami nang tumatawid sa amin. And part of it also is that political parties should be based on ideologies. Kaya nga yung mga political turncoatism, dapat may isa batas na rin yan na pagkapanalo ng isang lilipat sa isang partido, kumbaga ang partido ay hindi dapat nagiging bangga na sinasakyan kada eleksyon. Yan ay prinsipyo. Meron siyang ideolohiya. Kaya sumama dyan, hindi dahil malakas yung presidente mo o ganito yung sumasakay ka. Kaya remember, during the time of President Duterte. Tricycle lang sila nung una, naging bus na ngayon, naging eroplano dumami. Kasi lahat nagtawiran. Ngayong nawala na sa kanila, nag-aalisa na naman. So, these are the aspects, kumbaga, a political reform act would be a base also to end up political dynasty also. Kung sasabihin ng mga partido, hindi ka na pwedeng tumakbo kasi tumakbo na yung ano mo Hindi ka namin pwedeng i-nominate. Tapos pag hindi siya na-nominate, hindi na siya pwedeng tumalon sa kabilang partido kasi meron na tayong anti-turncoatism. So, isa yan sa mga maaaring maging solusyon para ma-prevent ang dynastiya.
Attorney,
Sige.
konti lang. At short lang po ang sagot ninyo kung pwede.
Sige, short lang daw. Yes,
Opo,
ma'am.
short lang po. Kasi may mga media pa po. Yung naniniwala din po ba tayo na walang perfect sa pamumuno at bakit? Thank you po.
Totoo naman po yun. Dahil ang tao hindi naman perpekto, no? Ganun din ang mga leader natin. May mga kahinaan din sila at may mga lakas din sila, no? Pero kung ang mga tumutulong sa kanya maganda yung adhikain nila, talagang mas lalong lalakas at magiging perpekto yung dahil of course, no, ang gusto natin naman yung excellence, no? Yung pag nagserbisyo tayo, yung pinakamagandang serbisyo na yung ibibigay natin sa mga Pilipino. Ganun din dapat yung nasa puso at isipan ng ating mga liderato.
So, in the context of perfection, wala naman talagang perfectong leader, magaling na leader. Kahit na magaling na leader, hindi rin masasabing may tataguin niya isang bansa na napakaganda. Ang importante dyan yung team the support team. Regardless if you're a good leader, kung may lalagay mo naman sa gabinete mo at mananalo mga congressman, mga senador, mga magnanakaw at corrupt, walang mangyayari sa pamahalaan. Pero hindi rin natin sila masisi kung ito'y elective position, tao ang naglukluk sa kanila. Kaya nga, yung mga tao, sisihin nyo yung sarili nyo. We deserve this kind of government because you're the one who elected that. So, at this point, sa nakikita natin, we need to be vigilant on this. That's why kaya nga yung mga People's Assembly, yung advocacy na nakikita, we need to voice out. Pag may nakita tayong imperfection, sabihin natin. Magkaroon tayo ng boses para masabi na medyo may problema yata sa isang nailagay ng Pangulo sa mga ganito. Oh.
Sige, I think we have one more question. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm Nino from Hataw. Kay Calio di po. Sir, recently, nagbigay ang gobyerno ng 35 pesos wage increase. Any reaction for that? Tapos kung gusto rin mag-react ni Dr. at saka Nis.
Ang hinihingi ng mga manggagawa ay 750 pero nagkasundo sa 150. At yung Senado ay sumang-ayon na doon sa ganung halaga. At hindi lang regional wage board kundi dapat legislated para maging national. Ibig sabihin nun, kung magkano ang halaga ibibigay sa Metro Manila, ganun din sa probinsya. Pero ang binigay ay 35 pesos. Mas mababa pa kaysa doon sa nakaraang taon na 40. At yung 35 pesos ay hindi makakabili ng kahit 1 kilong bigas. Kakapusin yon. Kaya ang tawag namin, insulto. Huwag lang hindi masabing hindi nagbigay. Pero insulto. Dahil talagang napakaliit at yun ay larawan yon ng kawalang tamang pagtrato sa mga manggagawa. Tinitingnan nila na napakaliit na uri ng mga manggagawa sa lipunan ito. Yun ang ibig sabihin nun. Kaya medyo masakit para sa amin dahil grabe yung itinaas ng inflation, ang laki ng nawala sa aming sahod, pero yun pa rin lang ang ibinigay na parang huwag lang masabing hindi nagbigay, kaya medyo masakit.
Ako naiintindihan ko yung ang nararamdaman ni Calyodi doon. Pero alam nyo, sa konsepto ng ekonomiya, dapat din natin makita kung ano yung klasifikasyon ng mga bawat negosyo. Hindi lang lahat, may mga negosyo na kayang kayanin ng 750. Pero pag ito'y nag-isang national legislation, marami namang mga maliliit ding negosyante ang mapipilayan. So siguro sa pagbalangkas ng batas, dapat tinitignan ng aspeto ng balancing balancing increase na nakikita. Kaya lang, it is a national wage law eh. Kung bibigay natin ng 750 in general, kakayanin niya ng malalaki. Pero expected mo maraming mga middle at small entrepreneur na negosyante na maaring bumagsak. Ako negosyante rin ako, meron akong, hindi ko kakayanin yung ganung kalaki. Pag meron akong kasi hindi pa naman akong isang multinational na negosyante. So dapat makita ng ating nagbabalangkas ng batas ang pantay-pantay na aspeto pagdating sa wage increase. Siguro dito, maybe we could suggest pag ito yung isang kumpanya ay kumikita ng ganito, classified natin, kay qualified ka na magbigay ng 750. Gawin mo naman dun sa at dun sana maibalangkas sa batas na to yung klasifikasyon. Pero sa kasalukuyan hanggang diyan lang talaga ang kakayahan kasi pag ating tinuloy yung malaki maraming Pilipino naman ang maghihirap, maraming negosyante na gusto ring maging elite Jody, na yumaman din at at the same time pag silang kakayanin na yung 750. Kaya lang sa ngayon sa nakikita natin maraming maapektuhan. Yun lang ang nakikita ko.
Sila. Mahabang panahon, bago si Cory, ang ating pagtataas ng sahod, laging national. National, nationwide lagi. Nung mangyari lang si Cory, gumawa ng batas tungkol sa wage rationalization law, nangyari yung mga provincial rate. No? Pero dati, buo yan. At walang nagsara. Hindi naman gumuho ang kabuhayan ng mga kapitalista noon. Hanggang 1986, hindi naman gumuho. Bagamat national lagi legislated ang wage increase. Pangalawa, yung sahod sa totoo, hindi naman binabayaran ang mga manggagawa sa sahod na kung ano yung pinagtrabahuhan niya. Ang ginawa, nagtakda lang ng kung ano yung minimum na sahod na para mabuhay siya. Yun. Kaya hindi pa yung kung ano yung kailangan, kung ano dapat na sahod batay sa kanyang ginawa ay binabayad sa mga manggagawa ngayon. Kundi inaral, ito lang ang kailangan ng mga manggagawa para mabuhay siya at yun ang ibinibigay. Panghuli, sa wage increase, hindi yan totoong mawawala. Kasi hindi naman yan ibabaon sa lupa ng mga manggagawa para itago. Pagkatanggap nila yan, gagastusin niya yan. Bibili ng mga produkto at sisigla ang ekonomiya. Kaya pansinin nyo, tuwing Disyembre, na nagbibigay ang mga kapitalista ng dagdag na mga benepisyo, 13 months, ang sigla ng merkado. At pag sumisigla ang merkado, nangangailangan ng maraming produkto. At pag nangangailangan ng maraming produkto, nag-create ng mga panibagong mga manggagawa, nag-hard para magtrabaho ulit. Sumisigla ang ekonomiya. Sa lahat ng study, hindi totoong nagpapahirap sa ekonomiya ang pagtaas ng sahod. Kahit sa international, walang nagsasabi na negative ang pagtaas ng sahod para sa mga manggagawa. Ang nagsasabi lang yan ay yung siyempre, mga negosyante sa atin dito sa Pilipinas na ayaw talagang bigyan ng mga manggagawa ng dagdag na sahod.
Okay, thank you for that question. Thank you for the answers. I think that's all the time we have. Siguro just to wrap up, when it comes to the topic of security, as our resource persons have said, it's not a matter of defense, military, kasama na rin yung economic, financial, and as borrowing the words of Dr. Chester, yung revolution of the stomach, kailangan i-address so that we are united as a country towards progress. And just to add to what Dr. John said about yung elite economy, legal, information, I think to address that revolution of the stomach, hindi lang yung tiyan but also what you said about information, education, communication. So tandaan lang po natin yung acronym na SBM. It has to be spiritual, bodily, and mental progress in our hearts and minds. Para nang sa ganun lahat po tayo ay united. So with that, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you gentlemen for participating in our weekly The Agenda here at Club Filipino. Maraming salamat po and good morning to everyone.